Wow, there we go. Okay, so we are recording. Welcome everyone to the super easy kind of beginner or just like trade education level training on Tuesday, whatever today is, I forget, the 24th September. If you guys have any specific questions or pairs, I know, Chris, for real. You have no idea. I would love that. If you have any questions or pairs, please put them in the chat. We can kind of go over them. But again, I want this to be a super welcoming and warm place for the people who maybe are a little bit more green in terms of trading, or maybe they're 5 years in and they just never learned some of the basic, stuff. And it's okay. Don't be ashamed to ask a question, no matter how big or small. If I know it, I'll help, and I don't know everything. So there's that. David, I want to know about your 4-hour strategy. Okay, awesome. I don't know how long you've been trading, but DJ had asked about Euro odd for the sell. This is what I see. Okay, so this is my kind of 4-hour strategy. I did remove the Renko maker just because I didn't really think it added value, and it was just, in my way. So you can keep it or leave it. You can add the TDI, you can add the Apex or the major painkiller, whatever you guys see the best, and hopefully doesn't repaint. Because the whole concept is our oscillators should not be repainting. We have enough repainting stuff on our chart. So the combination of the leading indicators with the lagging indicators equals, a just right on time system. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. I don't know where my watermark is, so I will look for it again. But this is Euro odd on the 4-hour chart. DJ, what are you looking at? Can you talk? Or do you have a munchkin in your lap?
I do. Hopefully it's not too loud. So I was looking at the 1 hour, and I was looking to get in after it breaks that down fractal.
Okay, so this fractal is pretty low, so you're going to be getting a later entry just because of how that wick worked. Okay, so that is already 50 pips away. That's the only, remember, that's the deficit to the break of the fractals. I mean, it's a good thing because you're going with the trend. You're going where price is moving more accurately, not necessarily with the trend. But the bad thing is it's usually a late entry. So just looking at the 4-hour chart before we click to the 1-hour chart, we have an 8 and 18 crossover. We did break the 50, although we didn't close, and now we're really hovering around it. I don't know if there's any major news. I can check on the other chart. But let's see, Euro is weak and odd is also weak. So it's just going to be a battle of who's weaker. I mean, if we're going to kind of stick with that. But otherwise, we have enough confirmations just about to take this as a sell. We're waiting on our profit extreme filter and maybe the break of the zero. And then even that without the break of the fractal. So if we can get those two on the 4-hour chart, DJ, take it for a sell. Well, how many pips?
Copy that.
Because think about it, even if it goes 50%, I mean, you're still looking at maybe 150-ish pips. Just say 120 just to be safe, depending on what broker. But the major consensus on the Euro pairs is sell. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed. It's just one of those things. Euro Chef is the better bet, though, because Chef is extremely strong. So then you're not wagering weakness against weakness. Now you're wagering strength against weakness, which just increases your chances of being accurate. But we'll click to the 1-hour chart to see what you see. I'm assuming on the 1-hour chart, we already have everything lined up. We're definitely saying sell here. Momentum is pushing up. We're below the zero line, so that's enough for me. This is saying sell, but you see how the currency strength indicator is just consolidating right there in the middle point?
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to wait for that break of that fractal, because I assume once it does break, then the strength meter will probably be ready.
Well, that fractal's not so bad. This fractal's not so bad at all. So that's worth waiting on. The other fractal's not worth waiting on. So that one's not bad. Let's go to the triple arrow system real quick. Check out what we have in terms of news, Euro odd. But you have to pick your odd pairs and your Euro pairs. If you can only be in X amount of trades at one time, you have to kind of be mindful of that. If Euro odd is your best bet for the Euro or the odd, right? So the 4-hour chart is still saying this is buying, although I definitely think it's due. It can pull back. It doesn't mean it will or won't, but it can pull back. We have enough confluence, as we previously discussed. If we go to the 1-hour, and I'm pretty sure all the NZD news is done. So we have 4-hour support, which, But once it picks a direction on either of these fractals, even if you only took it to the average daily high, So from that fractal to the high, say 60 pips. From this fractal, let's go down to the low, say 70 pips. You know, that would be a safe trade. So we're below the 50 right now, so we're hoping that we'll sell and bust through this support. You know, that's what we're hoping for. So, but again, this is consolidating though. And the reason it's consolidating is because, let's see, odd is weak. Our odds at a -3 and Euro's at a, let's see, -1. So they're not like, there's not a vast difference. Whereas like if we took the Euro against the chef or the Euro, so let's look at that real quick. Like, so this would be a pair that I would be looking at. I am looking at real quick. Euro chef made his big move. Again, I'm looking at the 4-hour chart. So triple ignoring that. Let's delete this. We pulled back. We have daily dots. But the chef is extremely strong and the Euro is weak. So for this to kind of finish coming up a little bit, it made a lower low, kind of going to retest that area and then should drop for a safe trade. Not nearly as many pips out of it though, because this is a slower mover.
I'm actually already in that pair. I got in at that first big momentum candle, like right before it made that move.
So you got in at the beginning of this candle?
Yes.
That's awesome. I took it here at the break of the 50. So, well, actually, I guess more accurately, I got that trade when the 8 crossed the 50. I got my alert, right? And then everything lined up. So I took this sell.
Nice.
So not bad. Yep. I mean, that's a good trade. I mean, it's still good. I mean, but if it pops up, just know it's going to pop up about 60 pips. It doesn't mean your trade's invalid. Just know that it's going to be, you know, that's what's going to be happening. So, yeah.
Right. Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome, DJ. Hi to your little guy. So most of the NZD pairs, this one's doing a nice flag, which is exactly what we wanted to do. This is what I'm saying is a buy, but keep in mind there's still more news. So how many minutes into that news comes out? Or is it done? It's not done yet, right? Anybody want to check their FX books? So I'm in Euro NZD for the drop. I've been in there about a couple hundred pips a couple times now. And then, of course, there's NZD CAD, which I think is the most accurate, the best in terms of long term. This is a really good trade. If you go to the higher time frames, it's just a really safe trade. So it's, again, not a super fast mover, but can you get a couple hundred pips out of it? Yes, you can. Obviously, there's NZD USD too. So for those of you who are asking about NZD pairs, I like NZD CAD for the buy. It'll probably retest this area and then come up. So that's what we're waiting for it to do. Some of us took a small entry, but we were waiting until after some of this big news, which I think is getting ready to release now, or I don't know. Somebody want to check investing.com or FX book? Anybody at all? Peekaboo. Hey guys, my calls, you can totally step up and talk. So, because I spent 2.5 hours talking today already. So I'm totally good with hearing your voice, just in case you didn't know.
Yeah, it looks like the news is coming out now.
I think it's just
51.
now. Yeah.
Hi there, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So your 4-hour strategy that you talked about yesterday, just making sure that all the confirmations were there, is that the same thing that Kat talks about in, like, I guess all his other training videos?
Okay, so it's real comparable. I'm guessing this is David, right? Or
Yeah, correct.
okay, so a couple of things. So, when Pat first started, he used a version of the MACD. He used a version of like a Profit Extreme and like maybe one other thing. So we've kind of added and taken away different oscillators throughout the time. He has his preferences. I have mine. I'm more partial to the daily dots and that little arrow. So for example, the chart you're seeing now, hold on, I'll drag this down so you can see more of it. This chart that we're on currently is our triple arrow chart. We have a money tree string line, which I've kind of introduced to the group. A lot of people are using it. 8 and 18 is what I use. Pat used a variation. He used 8 and 19, I believe. So I'm big on the 50, whereas Pat was big on the 35. So I'm big on this 50 moving average. I just think that it's not even mine. I can't claim it. I can't own it, but it's the most commonly used, system out there. So if I'm going to use something, I want it to be as accurate as possible. So since the big banks use the 50, I use the 50. Let's see, I'm big on the currency strength meter. I have probably 7 or 8. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I use actively to give you an idea of how valuable I find this to be. It's just extremely valuable, especially when you can get 3 or 4 of them saying the same thing. Now you have, again, enough confluence. So that's where our similarities and differences kind of end. Now, in terms of my 4-hour strategy, I'm going to go away from this chart, okay? So you'll notice I'm going to go to this chart. This is Euro odd, okay? I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart, which means the difference is if I want stress-free trading and I want no drama, I don't want to be emotionally and mentally in a problem, just by checking on the time frames. The problem is if we go to our charts and we see right here, well, the 15 minutes going to be saying buy, the 30 minutes going to be saying sell most of the time. The day might be saying one thing, the 4 hours going to say one thing. And it just makes for a very confusing trading experience. So, I mean, this is after, a couple of years worth of kind of testing different ways to go about this. So when I say my 4-hour strategy, sorry, I'm a bit long-winded. What I'm saying is 4-hour only, okay? As in, for the most part, I'm going to ignore everything but the 4 hour. So I'm going to pretend like I don't care what's happening on the 15 and I don't care what's happening on the day. Granted, I do mark up charts on the day chart and the 4-hour. Typically every Sunday or Monday morning, I'll mark up charts on TradingView just to see what they're doing, like if they're making a double top, if they're hitting support and resistance. And I am going to do that actually next Tuesday night. So next Tuesday night, for those of you who are on the call or listening to it as a recording, please be there. I'm going to talk about drawing trend lines, drawing support, resistance, supply, and demand, and how we find those zones. So to continue what I'm saying, aside from the charting, what I'm saying about my 4-hour strategy is this is it. I'm not looking at anything else. I mean, if I have some confluence from my charting, which is naked, no indicators, then I will include that as a checklist. But using what we have physically on this chart and nothing else, okay? Notice we don't have that big arrow. We have a little arrow, yellow arrow, 8 and 18, a 50. We have ADX, MACD, which I count as 2 indicators. I'll go to a smoother spot. So when price crossed over the lines right here, I'll count that as 1. So this would be 1 confirmation. When it breaks the 0 line, I count that as 2. So this would be 1, 2. Just to give you an idea of how I would count my confirmation. So to go off of what we're seeing currently, we would have daily dots, that's 1. Little arrow is my white one, so that's 2. Yellow arrow, 3. 8 and 18 cross is 4. A break of the 50 is 5. And you guys can listen to this recording. For my ADX, my sellers need to be in control and my momentum needs to be above 25 for this to count. So that's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 when it breaks the 0, 9 when the profit extreme says sell, and 10 when our currency strength indicator is saying this is stronger and this is weaker. Preferably on this one above the 40 and the 60. If I were to be using a different one, I'd have different rules. But the essential aspect to that is that we need to have, the euro needs to be weaker and the odd needs to be stronger, or vice versa for buying or selling. So
Okay, that makes sense.
But there's other confirmations I'd use. So for example, like on Euro NZD, we'll go to that trade real quick. When I charted that up this weekend, that has a double top. It's at massive support and resistance, on my charting. So this is just a demo account. We took the entry here. We got quite a few pips. We took another entry. I believe I got knocked out of that one too. So I have another entry up here where price currently is. But either way, having said that, if I had charting confirmations, I would count that as, like, for example, 11. If I have a break of a trend line, so if I just come right here and I draw a trend line, that's a really awful one. I don't usually draw a bunch on MT4 just because their tools kind of are awful. perfect trend line, like 1, 2, run it through, right? To make a trend line, just needs to touch a few spots. Price needs to stop at a few of these locations. If it breaks that trend line, that would count as 12 or 13, right? And of course, there's candles. If you're using trend-based candles such as Heiken Ashi or Trump candles or trend candles, those are all different versions, you can count that. If you know Japanese candlestick confirmations, I know this is a lot to kind of follow, but if you know that this right here is a railroad, you can count that as a confirmation. Full-bodied candle stopping at the same location is considered a railroad. So we can count that as a confirmation. I also tend to count as a confirmation a momentum candle, so a big candle. This is a big candle. Momentum means a powerful candle, a full body, big candle. I don't, to say it in layman's terms. So those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. Obviously, the more the merrier. There's no guaranteed trade, and most trades come down to whether or not you can hold them. But I assure you, if you follow, let's just say 10 of those rules on the 4-hour chart, you should be more accurate than 80%. And if your accuracy is falling below 80%, with as much love and gentle answer as I can possibly give you, the odds are that it's you and not the charts. The odds are that it's your emotions, it's your inability to hold the trade, hold the drawdown or whatever it is. It's poor management, it's poor decisions, or maybe you didn't follow the rules. But if you follow even just 10, 12 of those confirmations, I assure you, your accuracy will be extremely high. Numbers don't lie, feelings do, but numbers don't lie. So there's no doubt in my mind on that. Now, the problem also is if we, for example, took this trade late, because let's say we were sleeping, let's say we live in London or something, we took it late, and then this goes against us by 100 pips because that news coming out, okay? Did it hit your stop loss, number one? Can you hold it, number two? Did you get super emotional, number three? So, there's a whole process to this. There's entry timing and the whole nut. But if you follow those confirmations, you should have an extremely high accuracy ratio. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it totally does, like 100 times over.
Okay, well, 100 times is better than no times. I guess I'll take that as a compliment. So
No, it totally is. I thought you were going to give me a shorter answer, so I appreciate that in-depth answer. Yes, thank you.
no problem. I just want you guys to realize that if you, I did not fill out that checklist app yet from earlier from this morning's call, but I think it's pretty sweet. And I told you guys mine would be second to none, I assure you. Only because I use so many confirmations that when I take a trade, granted, I do have trade managers that manage my stuff for me, but in general, I'm not worried about anything at all because I'll just hop back in when I get back from the, freeze tank cryo place like I went to today. Like those machines that you jump into and make your whole body freeze to death. I did that. It was kind of awesome. But anyways, I'll just hop in another trade. I'm not worried. Because I trust my analysis and I know what I'm looking for. So I will fill that out and maybe I'll do it on my next call moving forward because I want to do it primarily for this beginners kind of class. I think that's what's going to help the most. So just so you know, Chris, the difference between taking a trade with the now and later from a swing. I don't trade the now and later, as you guys know. There are people who are really good at it and there are people who are not. I never stuck with it long enough to be good at it, so I'm not going to knock it. It's not the now and later's fault. But here's what I can tell you. So if you're taking a now and later, the whole rules say that you need to be in the trade. It needs to line up on the 15, 30 minute, and the 1 hour. The problem is those are also the highest repainting times, highest bust through the indicators kind of times. So that's where I find the deficit to be on the now and later. Although, can you catch it for a scalp? Absolutely. So the difference is the now and later is a scalping system. The swing system is a long-term trading system. So, for example, some of the trades I called at the very beginning of the six-figure income challenge, six-figure challenge, are now 2-3 weeks later, hundreds of pips in the direction that we called them in. That just kind of goes with the territory. Some of them moved immediately, but some of them moved against us, played around for literally a week and a half. That's real trading. So like, for instance, if some of you guys have 12-hour jobs or have lives, the truth is most scalpers lose more money than they make. Everyone has that good day where they can post a bunch of screenshots and say, woo woo, guess what? I just got all these pips, yay. but the majority of the time when they get a stop loss hit, it's 10 times bigger than their take profit. And the whole concept behind scalping is flawed. Unless you already have multiple thousands of dollars, then it's not a viable long-term solution. Is it possible if you're very accurate? Yes, but that's that. So, Devin, I do one-on-one sessions. You can message me to Cleo. I'm going to say Cleo. Why do I use the trend for the 1 hour? Because for the most part, I was trading mostly up the 1 hour when I had to determine the trend. So I chose that, and I've kind of just stuck with it so I can have consistent results. I have to have a consistent definition to use a consistent answer. So the only problem with using the 4 hour on the 50 to determine the trend is, for example, we're on Euro Chef. That was one of the trades, the first trades I called, I think. This is, let's see, September 8th. We stayed above the 50. We dropped. Okay, so that would have told us a different story. We dropped, it would have told us a different story. But now is the 14th. So this is 3 weeks, okay, worth of information, give or take. And 1, 2, 3 times with that information have yielded very little results. So I find it more effective for me to determine the trend based off of the 1 hour, because then at least I can have a chance at catching some of this with some accuracy. If I trust this only on the 4 hour, I'll be late every time. So is somebody listening to Irving? Because I can't hear anything. Or is Irving talking? You're welcome, Cleo. Irving, are you talking, mister? All right, cool. Next question. So I like NZD CAD for the buy, Odd Chef for the sell. Whoopsie. Sorry. Euro Chef for the sell. I'm already in oil. So I'm going through a couple of my trades on my other account. We know that GBP dropped finally, but now it's still in that consolidation range, so I have no intention of playing with those trades currently, just so you guys know. Dottie. All right, cool. Anybody have the next question, next comment, next pair that you guys want to take a look at? Anybody at all? Where can I get it? This strength meter is no longer free, so this is the one that I recommend. Honestly, I find this one to be the most accurate out of all of them I have. But as you can see, the downside is it's a bit of a pain in the butt to use. So the trick is, this is absolute currency strength. You can find it on the marketplace. Whenever you drag and drop a pair on the chart, what's going to happen is those two lines are going to get thicker and kind of highlighted, if you will. And you can use this tool up here, this key, to tell you which are which. So for example, in this case, euro is stronger than the US dollar, but US dollar is coming up. What you really want to see is that nice strong crossover with some space between them. If you want to know, wow, I'm just moving around for sure what's happening, that's really what you're going to want to see, is just a nice crossover. And this also kind of tells you where to look. So for example, right now, Chef is going up. Chef is kind of continuing its direction. So I'm going to zoom in. And this is how I use this. I put it on its own chart. I stretch it really, really big. And then I can kind of come over here and get an idea. So if I want to know what pair this is Chef, USD. We already know what kind of that's doing right now. It's USD is falling. Chef is stronger. So let's take a look at NZD Chef. NZD and Chef is just now crossing. So I'll show you that on the chart. And just so you guys know, this is the first currency strength indicator aside from currency heat wave I used that yielded the highest increase in my trading. So I had weeks and weeks. I think I had 3 or 4 months worth of data. When I added this specific thing, this tool, this exact one, which is free, this increased the accuracy percentage more than anything else. So for instance, before I find a trade, I need to see this crossover happen on the 1 hour time frame. I need to see that this is an agreement on the 1 hour time frame, so you guys know. But I'm going to go over to my chart. I'm going to drop NZD Chef on here. and I'll show you kind of what I do. So this is NZD Chef. Let's see. So Chef is stronger, NZD is weaker. But I'm expecting NZD to kind of pop up. So we're waiting on that news, obviously, to see what's going to happen. Either way, they're both a little bit too strong for me to kind of bet them against each other. So I would skip that trade. So if I go back to that currency strength indicator and say, okay, that's odd Chef. We know odd Chef is weak. We already mentioned that we're selling that with enough confirmations. So we had a nice kind of touch and rejection. NZD is strong. Am I on the right pair? Maybe not. Yeah, that's Chef, and this is odd. Just making sure. Okay, I am on the right pair. This is odd, and that is Chef. So like we already discussed, this is when this should be selling. So we have a clean crossover. There's some space between them. And it's going to take time for it to play out. I mean, most of these trades aren't meant to be scalps. That's the whole concept. You have to be willing to hold this trade for X amount of time. And most people just don't have the capacity. I talked to somebody today who was like, why can't I do this? I can do this many pips on small lots, but when it gets to big lots, I can't do it. And the answer to that is pretty clear. It's very simple. When you get to several standards, you know, it's very hard to see drawdown of $4 grand. 5 grand, 10 grand for a week and a half. But if you're willing to see that kind of drawdown for a week and a half and then you wait, you can see your $50,000 return just in this one move. But especially when it gets to bigger lot sizes, you guys will start to change your mentality to understand that, okay, I trust my analysis. Everything is still lining up. I'm in agreement with what I see. So I'm going to trust, come on, silly butt. I'm seeing that I can hold this trade from the 20th. So this is 4 days. This is all over the weekend. That means you go out and have a good time without freaking out. It means you pray your stop loss didn't get hit, and there you go. So the name of that indicator is the absolute currency strength. When do you trust the daily dots in the lower end? Dots until there are at least 4 of them on the 4-hour. And even then they can repaint. To answer that person, Connie, you had a situation where the 4-hour triple arrow says sell and the 1-hour has a triple arrow saying obviously buy. How do I reconcile that? If I'm trading based off of my 4-hour strategy, I don't care what the 1-hour is telling me. Because like I don't have maybe it's emotional ability, but I don't have the ability to over stress about whether or not, how do I say this? Everybody loves the now and laters and they love the scalping because they, in their mind, they're thinking the fastest entry is the way to go, which technically is right. But if you're spending 12 hours a day trying to look for the perfect entry and it's not increasing your accuracy, okay, if it doesn't make money, it's not making sense. And that's kind of the point I want to get across. So if my 4-hour is telling me, hey, this is a sell, which it is, okay, and I go to the 1-hour and the 1-hour is saying this is a buy, I don't care. Like I want to trust the 4-hour and I've learned that this is the most accurate. So I'm going to trust this. Does it mean that it might pull up? Fine. But what if I decide to like go out and do something, or if I have a date, or I'm at my children's events, or like if something in my life is going on, I don't want to be rushing home to say, oh my gosh, I can't miss this trade. I can't miss this trade. So I'm checking my phone 78 times while I'm at Publix. I can't focus. I keep checking. I'm looking. And for what? To save this pullback? Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, obviously going in the same direction that the 1-hour is in the same direction as the 4-hour is ideal. But depending on the time you have available and your lifestyle and your stress level, if all that's doing is messing you up, then all you're doing is messing up. I mean, so that's completely a personal choice. You don't have to trade that way. What you do have to do is create a set of rules that work for you, that are manageable. So if you can manage to check your charts for 30 minutes 3 times a day and then don't look any other time, you can be successful regardless of what time frame you use. you'll need more time for scalping and less time for swinging. Oil is selling. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I hope that answers your question, Connie. Like, I've realized that people are so obsessed with that perfect entry. As you guys know, any of you who know me or have worked with me, I could care less about the fast entry. I really care about the accuracy. Let this load a little bit. It's kind of freezing up. Give it just a second. Well, that's strange. Huh. There we go. It said my screen sharing was locked. I was like, what? So for most of us, we know there was a gap. It may or may not have filled on other brokers. I don't want to discuss the accuracy or inaccuracy of that. But what we do know is we consolidated. So imagine like a box drawn around this. I try not to use fibs and draw boxes on MT4 because it's just a mess. But either way, imagine a box drawn around this. Okay, it finally busted out. So we busted below that box. Here's a fractal on the 4 hour, which is a pretty powerful fractal. We made a lower low. I definitely expect a pullback. But again, if we're just following some simple rules based off of what's on this current chart, we have our daily dots, little arrow, yellow arrow, I'm sure, is in the same direction. We have a most recent momentum candle saying bearish. We broke a lower low. That would count as a confirmation if you want to count it. Momentum is extremely high. We have the sellers are in control. We have a crossover and we broke the zero and our profit filter extreme is saying sell. And if I want to look at one more thing, this is the apex. I was kind of playing with it. Somebody in the group has been using it and they're loving it. They're having a ton of success going to the 4 hour, a lot less stress. Actually, it kind of made me all happy when they said, I almost gave up until I went to the 4 hour. I was like, yay, see, you get it. But either way, this was given to me by Mr. Ernest Washington. I don't use it a whole bunch, but it's comparable to the TDI. I like it better because of how it peaks out. I like that better personally. It's just more clear to me. I don't know if it's any better or worse, but I like this better than the TDI in general. So what you're looking for is the peak to come out. This is a peak out, then it sold off. It doesn't mean you don't have to hold this trade for a week before that happens, though, as you can see. Most people aren't really understanding that. The same thing that happened with US 30 this morning. Those people held it for a week, and then some of them just made 7 and 8 figures. Again, a single day. But that's neither here nor there. So oil is selling. We expect this to sell for a decent while. How much, I don't want to predict. But again, going off the premise that even if it only goes 50% of how much it can go. Okay, so if it closes the gap, you're looking at 150 pips. At least if it makes a lower low, you're looking at the plus side of 400 and 500 pips. So that's what most people are marking this chart up to be. So even a safe 75 pips is very safe on this. Bear in mind that this pip count on oil does not drop a digit. So when it says 116 there in the middle, it actually means 116, to give you an example. So, yes. Chris, can I explain fractals? So fractals, in my opinion, are the very best if we go to the 1 hour chart. Let's see, I'm gonna hopefully hide that. Or toolbar. Oh, that's just silly, sorry. What, I don't think I drank enough water today. But okay, so fractals, what we're seeing is DJ has a really good video. It's like literally 4 minutes long, and that guy can explain it much more effectively than I can. If he wants to post that in the group, he can, because it's public information, not promoting another group. But essentially, it's this fractal is created by the 2 candles before and 2 candles after, and some algorithm that I do not know and don't want to accurately say. I just knew that it was created by the candles before and the candles after. I didn't know how. Having said that, the price stalls at this area. So if price stalled this area reversed, there's multiple ways to use them. I will tell you the way that I use them. I use them in the direction of the trend. So for example, We have an 8 and 18 crossover, daily dots, yellow arrow. We break this fractal. That's one more piece of evidence I can take it for the sell because it broke this fractal low right here. So this large bearish candle broke the previous low. So that is an indicator for a sell. That's one way to use it. Similar concept for the buy. I'm going to skip that gap and go somewhere else. So again, we have a fractal on top. Right over here, we broke that fractal high. So for me, taking that for a quick entry, I typically use that for scalping, for faster entries, even on the 1 hour chart, is extremely accurate, especially when you place it with a few other indicators. Notice that you'll be extremely accurate just following that one principle. We're above the 50, so we're looking for buys. We broke this fractal high. We have buyers are in control, momentum is high. We have a nice crossover and we recross the 0. This is saying buy. This is irrelevant because this is oil. But either way, based off of only this, we got plenty of pips out of this, 240 on oil. And this is not a large move, to give you an idea. So that's one way to use them. That's the way I find the best. Granted, the weakness, just so I can teach you guys accurately, the weakness in terms of trading this way is it gives you a later entry. So your stop loss is going to be bigger. This is the late entry. But it's also the safe entry because you can't break this fractal high unless price is moving higher. So it gives you an entry in the direction price is going. That's an asset. But the fact that it's the latest entry and technically it could just pop up and make a slightly higher high before it reverses, that's where the weakness comes in. Just so I can kind of educate you accurately. Another way to use them, people use them as take profits and stop losses. I don't necessarily prefer that, just me. But the other way to use them is, so for example, we're above the 50. Again, using this kind of ugly, choppy, not perfect example. We are currently above the 50, and let's say, we just got back from dinner and we come and check our charts, and I just dropped that randomly. So here's the deal. We know we're looking for buys because we're above the 50. Our buyers are in control. We're in control and control and control. We just broke that fractal high, but let's say we have that itchy feeling because this wick to the top side is kind of tripping us out. We don't want to risk it, so we don't want to make a poor entry. Remember, on Japanese candlesticks, wicks to the top mean there's downward pressure. Wicks to the bottom mean there's upward pressure. So having said that, let's say we go to bed that night and wake up the next morning, we see this downward fractal. Again, everything is still in line with the buy. You can take the downward fractal as another entry to continue buying. You can take this downward fractal as another entry to continue buying, and so on. So there's multiple ways to use them. I prefer the first one that I mentioned. So can you show on TradingView replay? You mean the fractals, or Chris, can you talk? No, I mean, maybe next week I'm going to pull up TradingView because I'm going to do charting, but not this time. Guys, I'm on a VPS and I have like multiple MT4s running, so even to get this turned off and then put on there, yeah, no. So I'm sorry, but next week, okay? Where you cannot see future candles. I'm familiar with replay. I haven't used it a whole bunch. I've mostly done my back testing on MT4, but I do know what you're talking about. So, I mean, it's a cool feature. And that video is like 4 minutes long, just so you can learn to see kind of how it works and what you can do. So you're more than welcome to do that. In fact, I recommend you do that. I mean, that would be good for you. So, let's see. What are your thoughts on gold? Hold on, there's a few more questions. DJ, did you set a sell stop on Euro NZD where the daily dot is forming? Yeah, it's retracing right now, plus there's news. But again, I think we already got somebody messaged me and said they got almost 400 pips out of that. That was a call we did in the six-figure challenge. So I've gotten a couple hundred. I didn't get 4, but I didn't stack either. So I will get back in on my live account after this pullback because that's kind of how I trade. But granted, there's news, so we don't know what will happen. But I'm happy with the results so far. So how do you use TDI as confirmation? There's also short videos on TDI. I am probably not the expert to show you that, but very similar concept to this. When you get your little flag, or somebody today called it a hook, which I've never heard it called that ever, but when price comes out of the Bollinger Bands, okay, you're looking for it to start to buy. When price is above the 50, because essentially it's like an RSI, a Bollinger Band, and a 50 moving average. That's kind of what the TDI is, all put together into one. So when you understand that, I think because I understand it, that's why I don't appreciate it. Maybe that's just my backwards logic. But plus, I don't like the way it scrunches. It's all scrunchy. But I'll put it on this chart real quick to show you.
Hey, Jenny, can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to ask about TDI. I use the TDI a lot. I can add some files to the discussion so guys can have the information so they can better understand how to use it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Hey guys, at the end of the day, I don't care what indicators you use as long as you use them consistently in a trackable manner. Because if you use them consistently in a trackable manner, you'll know what works and you'll know what doesn't. And that will tell you every single thing that you desperately need to know. So now, having said that, this is the TDI. This is the original version. This is the market maker method version. I'm sure there's 78 versions since then. In fact, we got another version this morning. But here's the deal. The blue lines are the ocean. Or I don't want to even, I've heard so many stories that people make up about this thing. I don't even know which one to tell you. But here, I'm going to call them their names. This is a Bollinger Band. It's blue. Okay? The yellow is your 50. It's literally a 50 moving average, kind of placed in this little oscillator, if you will. And then all you're really wanting is you're wanting the green to be on top for a buy, the red to be on top for a sell. And if it does a squeeze, okay, you know that there's a move coming. But whoever tells you that a squeeze means a big move's coming, that's like telling you that overbought, oversold exists. Because, for example, here's a squeeze. This is considered a squeeze, right? But this is just a baby move. It's not a huge move, right? It's a baby move. So if we go to an actual pair, let's go to GBP CAD just for conversation. And because it was next to the chart, squeezes happen. There's a lot of different ways to use this, but essentially when you get this crossover your signal line, I don't want to call it all their funky names and confuse you guys, but when you get the crossover of the green and red, you're looking for a buy. When it's outside the Bollinger Bands, it's stronger. It's the strongest. Obviously, if it comes up and touches the 50, that's how much your buy was for. If it breaks the 50, you're looking for a continuation. And then again, similar concept. When you get the crossover of the green and red, you're looking for a sell. It may only sell back to the 50, okay? And then it kind of consolidates for a while, or squeezes as they call it. And then here you go, you have a nice buy. Kind of we have a crossover, green is on top, red is on bottom. I'm sure somebody else can explain it better. I don't use the TDI. I don't love it, so I'm not an expert in it, in all honesty. I mean, I understand it. But again, here's the concept. So this is way out, and then this is the crossover. So this would indicate we'd have a strong sell, which was simply not the case. We had a really baby sell, okay? Just to tell you kind of how it works. If your eyes can see it and you love it, add it to your arsenal. If your eyes are like, ooh, I hate that, I never want to look at that again, then take it away. It's pretty simple, guys. We all have to make up our own choices and work with what our eyes see best. So I hope that at least mildly answers your question. I don't find it to be irreplaceable. And it doesn't mean that you won't. Like, people use that extremely a lot. I'm partial to the ADX. Okay, so we are currently on gold. Gold is making higher highs. So yes, there's a single daily dot. Does that matter to me? Absolutely not. Can it break? Very likely. We do have this strong candle in the center there with a nice long wick. That means we have a momentum candle that retests the 50% of that, which is exactly what we want to see. So this is forming a nice little teacup, I believe some group had told me. So this would be the handle. If you guys can see that, this would be the teacup coming all the way back up. So does it mean for sure it will do that? Does not mean that at all. But does it mean it can? Absolutely. So in gold, that's a pretty big amount of pips. So The only thing is don't be wrong because gold moves funky. So that's a pretty good amount of pips to show you kind of what I'm seeing. This is on the 4-hour chart. Notice how I don't have to bounce around. I don't have to be in 78 places at once. I don't have to care what's happening on other time frames. Yes, you can. You'll get a tighter entry, but if it stops you from taking good trades and has you on your charts all day, it doesn't matter at all. So that's what I see on gold. Unless it breaks and gives us a reason to think otherwise, this is currently still in a buyer's market. So we're above the 0 line on the MACD. Our buyers are in control, and our buyers are aiming down, which I don't really care if this line bounces around all day. What I'll really start to care about is if my sellers start crossing up. Okay, if it crosses up, then I know something's happening. So what I see on gold is a buy. Does it mean for sure it will buy? Nope, not necessarily, but that's what I see is a nice teacup forming, which since I know that pattern, okay, I could count that again as one piece of evidence, for my, do I want to take this trade list? So, all right, next question. Yeah, I like the fractals a lot. I do. All right, anybody else? Next pairs, next questions. Anybody at all? Let's see. But also, if you guys want a good pair that I think is probably maybe even a better pair than that, which is not a highly one I trade often, but Crypto FR. So I'm gonna need you to change your name to your actual name, just so you know. 1538 possible or 1550. So I'll go back to that in just a second. Notice how the daily dots are not set. You have to click around to get them right. But this right here is silver. So a lot less played with commodity or metal more accurately. So this is a trade that I took back here. I kind of love it. I am clearly in profit and I have held this trade primarily because everything that I was looking at lined up. This wasn't the exact setup, but this also all lines up. So similar thing happening here. So if this comes back up and retests that area, okay, you're looking at a really good trade. Not to say that it will, but that's what we're expecting. So you're talking, somebody says this is going up to like, I don't know, $1 bajillion, $50. One of those gurus. I don't know if it is, but I just know it's going up to 20 something. So I will take a look at GBP Chef, USD, CAD. I'm going to go back to gold and check out this guy's numbers. You said 1550, huh? Crypto FR, what's your name? Let's see. Yeah, 1550 is 70 pips shy. So, I mean, that wouldn't quite make it to the top, but yeah, I can see that. And 1538 is only a really mild, we'll see. That's not too far. So if it breaks the high, then yes. I mean, if it breaks that high, we're looking obviously at a continuation. But again, a pullback could be hundreds of pips. So, but if it starts making higher highs, keep in mind this has been a high that's been respected. And if we go back in history, this has been a high that's been respected a lot for a very, very long time. So we're at not necessarily record highs, but I mean, in a long time highs, to give you an idea. I go to the month chart. I mean, we haven't been this high where price is currently at. Come on, baby. Let's see. Since 2013. So, but we also have some weird stuff happening economically in our presidential stuff. I mean, we got a lot going on. So could that happen? Absolutely. It definitely could happen. So we shall see. All right, back to the 4-hour chart. I'm going to click over. And you guys said USD CAD. Okay. Boom. Let's take a look. So What time frame are you looking at for USD CAD, and what are you hoping happens? Or what are you seeing? And Reagan, can you talk by chance? I think it was Reagan who asked, maybe.
Hey, Jenny, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
I'm doing good. You?
Fantastic.
All right. Well, I just hooked up like the notifications to my phone from MT4 for the daily dots, and I just got some notifications about USD CAD being bearish. What do you think about that?
You said being bearish or bullish?
Bearish. I'm not my computer right now with the setup though, so I just saw the notification.
Here's what I see, just going off of what I see. So again, we've got daily dot saying sell, but we do have an individual dot here. USD is the weakest on the 4 hour. We are below the 50, but this like kind of doji, this isn't too pretty. No momentum, which I'm really not a big fan of. We are below the 0. This is saying sell, and our US dollar is kind of trying to climb up real quick. Does it mean it's going to stay up? No, it doesn't, but that's kind of what's happening currently. If I go to some other charts, let's see. USD is weak. CAD is also weak. So, again, you're kind of pitting against each other. Doesn't mean it can't move or won't move. I mean, that's kind of what I see at the moment. So this could be a nice healthy pullback to get in. I'm going to go to the 1 hour chart just for GP. Same concept. So our momentum is coming up at least. But yeah, I don't love it just yet. It looks like it's going to pull back, but it's not going to pull back by a lot because it's 57. It's not a fast mover, if you will.
Okay.
So even if it comes to here, I mean, you're talking about maybe 25 pips from where it currently is. So provided it doesn't break this, I mean, if it does, you could look at it retesting. So we'll see, but that's what I'm seeing.
Okay. Another question. What pairs would you recommend to trade on the London session?
I don't trade London. Anything with Euro and GBP would be phenomenal, and you are very blessed. If I traded London, I would probably be an 8-figure income earner.
Okay. So you mainly trade the New York session?
I do, because I can't be a zombie all the time. So I can only hack it for a couple weeks, and all of a sudden my brain stops working. So I can't do it. Not long term, children and stuff. So I just can't do it long term.
And what about the Asian session?
I don't prefer Asian. I took a trade last night in Asian. I lost it. I just don't enter a lot of trades in Asian. Although for you, you're awake for London. So for example, you're waking up early or late Asian session, right?
Yeah.
So for you, your trading style potentially could be very different and also beneficial. So nothing at all wrong with that, because you'll be awake. You'll be awake for that, to know that, hey, you're good and this feels good. And you can watch it just like you're supposed to.
Okay.
Me, I don't do Asian sessions because got a lot of background noise, guy. If you want to mute your phone while I finish answering you, you can do Asian because you'll be up for London. But keep in mind, whatever happens in Asian sometimes goes backwards in London, and then vice versa. Not always, just one of those rules.
Okay, got it.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Okay, I just muted everybody. So if you want to talk and you don't have a lot of heavy breathing, then you can unmute yourself. There's somebody's like, that sounds like they're in the wind or something.
Hey, Jenna, can I say something?
Please do.
You can Google those pairs. I actually did that this morning. So you can actually Google the pairs that are best traded in those time frames and make your own list and see what pairs actually move more than the other, if that makes sense. It'd be outlined. So, those pairs that are moving slower, you can, you can negate, stay away from those pairs, or you can trade all of them if you want to. So you can just number it down or send the list down to what you're trying to do and what the market is doing at that time frame. So you can Google it. It's all on the web.
That's awesome. Thank you. So you're Googling what's moving currently?
No, you just Google you just pretty much what he's looking for is what pairs to be trading in that time frame, or that session, whatever. And what I do is I like in London, I would just trade the pairs that move like more than 50 pips. That's what I do. So I know my range of, because I'm trading for myself for majority of the time because I travel. So I know what type of range I'm looking to be in once those pairs start to move. It's all on Google. So.
Yep, that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, CAD JPY for a long-term sell. I know we got in that twice, I think. We wanted to break the current daily dots. Well, this is odd JPY. CAD JPY, let's bring that over. Lock. Okay. Sorry, I've got these alerts that are popping up underneath a different MT4. So that's what's lagging everything down. Okay, so this is CAD JPY, similar concept. CAD is really, really weak. JPY is strong. We've got this nice, we kind of retested and it's re-spreading. I really like that. All we really want to see happen is it break these daily dots. Now bear in mind, we just broke a fractal. So that is appealing to me. We came back and retested, created this flag. We have a momentum candle to the downside. So now if I go to my 4-hour time frame, and CAD is weak on several of my currency currency thingies, since I clearly can't talk. So momentum candle, wick to the top, wick to the top. This is looking like it's got a lot of pressure to the downside. Momentum's on the low side, but again, everything is lining up. Do you have enough confirmations to take this as a sell? Okay, that's the question that you have to ask yourself. And if we go to this, which I've kind of just been playing with to last couple of days, I guess. Huh. Yeah. This is a good sell. Like I said, when I originally made this call, and go back to the other setup, we see this coming down for a decent amount of time. So if I scroll out, okay, we had this kind of formation. It's a little bit messy right now, obviously. So even if we came back down to retest a previous, bear in mind how choppy this is, sorry. But even if we come back just to retest this area on a slow mover to get an easy 100 pips, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all. Because this is a safe, steady mover. It'll consolidate for a few days on you and you have to kind of get over it, but it's still a good deal. So if it comes back and retests this zone, this previous zone right here, that's kind of what we're looking to see. So currently it's about 80 pips until that next zone, to give you an idea. Let's see. Odd USD today signal. Would this be for more of a daily on a buy? David or Dave, can you talk?
Sorry, Jen. I was just kind of taking a look at that and I see that the area, and I didn't know if it was the news or not. I haven't been at home to hop on my MT4, so I've just been looking at my oscillator on my phone. So just kind of asking your opinion about that one.
I see this as a continuation to the downside. So yeah, everybody wants to catch this move, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But this is still below the 50 on the 4-hour. This is odd as hold on. Odd is weak across the board. USD is weak, so this isn't a pair that I want to mesh up with each other.
Okay. I was just kind of looking at how much it was drawing down, and I didn't know if it was going to go to a lower low before maybe it picked up later on in Asia or maybe London or something. But
okay, so wait a minute. When did you get in?
When the signal came out, I went ahead and put the trade in. It's on a drawdown right now, but I can't. Let me see here.
You see they're not in drawdown?
I'm sorry?
You said you're not in drawdown, is that right?
No, I am in drawdown. I am in a drawdown.
Okay.
Negative right now. But, I mean, if I need to pull out, I'll pull out. But just kind of just wondering about it. I didn't know if maybe I should sit on it for a while because I have a large stop loss on it. There's enough room. So.
Okay. It does have a large stop loss, and it's also not a fast trader. It's a really slow mover. Let's see. Were you ever in profit when you took that trade?
You know what? It went a couple cents in profit, then it came back down. I saw it did a level 1 on the daily, and it just kind of came back up, and it's consolidating right now. So I just didn't know if it's something to hold on to, having such a large stop loss, or is it something that maybe I should just get out and get in later? Maybe that's what I was thinking.
So I don't know what lot size you used, and
Big lot size. I only did a small test at 0.13. That's what I did.
a 0.13 on what size account?
Oh, it's just a small account, $200 account.
What broker?
LQD.
And that's what leverage?
You know what? I know you've mentioned about leverage, but I can't see where the leverage would be. Would I see that under settings?
You really need to know that information. So you need to message your broker to find out what leverage you have. Because if you have a 50-to-1 account, well, I'm guessing you don't because you would have blown your account with the 0.13 on a $200 account. If
It's a micro account, so I don't think it's that. I don't think it has that much leverage, to be honest with you.
So most of us are using 2,000. Is that I can do something like I would do on the 6-figure. Let's kind of click through on a couple different things. So here we are. Let's go to AuDUSD. Let's see if we can find enough evidence to stay in this trade or get out of this trade. I will tell you with those calls that are signals placed by Elvis particularly, those are meant to be scalps. So when you are in profit, your job is to move your stop loss up into profit. And even mine, which are long term, I still would say the same thing. So looking at this right here, we have AUD is stronger than the US dollar. This is on the 1-hour chart. So that's in your favor, right?
Okay.
So let's kind of keep clicking through. Let's put AuDUSD on this chart. I go to the 4-hour time frame. What? Hold on, I gotta take a picture of this little thingy. It's saying that you can't use this indicator, which is so dumb. See, some of these are so protected it freezes everything up. So, and now it just disappeared. But either way, here's what we have. We are below the 50. We're on the 4-hour chart. We have a downward arrow. That is our big arrow. We're staying below. We did kind of cross above the 8. Just for giggles, we're going to go to the 1-hour time frame. We do have a buy arrow here, okay, which is positive. But if we break this high, okay, right here and right here, okay, we might have some legs to stand on in terms of a buy. But until we break this high, this could simply be a pullback. It also could be forming, a pattern. I don't want to discuss which one and kind of mark that all up. But just to kind of go through this in the most well thought out plan way, we know that this has a big arrow on the 1-hour time frame. This is still saying sell on the 4-hour, which, yeah, guys, I miss a lot of those 50-pip moves, but also my accuracy doesn't miss a lot. So just to be super honest, we have a TK crossover, and then it did its weird thing. We broke above the 50. We definitely have buyers are in control, but now our sellers are kind of taking back over, and we have a crossover for the downside. So go to here. I'm in AuDUSD too. Same deal. I barely went into profit. guys, that's not my trading style. So for the 6-figure challenge in my trades, you guys will know undoubtedly what trade that we're doing. You will be in charge of managing that trade. But for instance, if I call to buy here, I'm going to have us get back in. I'm going to hold this trade like I mean it. So we're going to have 3 to 4 trades a week, sometimes 2, sometimes 6. But that's all I'm going to do on that one account. And it's working. So like, and it will work. But for the other signals, maybe trade only at 5%. So again, to kind of continue our analysis, just I'm not a rocket scientist. Like I don't have a magic crystal ball. I just do what I do. So
Right.
let's see. Crossover, which is good, but it's kind of looks like it's coming back down. Daily dots, little arrow. This is saying buy, but again, our sellers are coming up. Crossover. This would indicate the next move is a buy, so that's in your favor. And we're above the 50, that's in your favor.
Okay.
I mean, this is all I would do. I would say for a buy, I'd put a really tight trailing stop on that just to protect in case it wicks up.
Okay.
But I'd also have a pretty tight stop loss personally. But I don't trade that way. So from what I understand, like dude is pretty accurate. I mean, the guy is, I don't say dude very often. I usually say guy, but I guess there's somebody's name is Guy. So now I have to work on not saying guy. Hey, so the guy is pretty accurate, but I don't trade his way. So from what I'm seeing, again, odd is stronger USD, but they're looking like they're getting ready to cross over. So this could do anything. All I know is we're staying below the 50. If I were to look to enter this, I would be looking for confirmations on a sell unless it gave me enough of a reason to start buying. But I trade long term, so that's my analysis. I will do one other thing, and we'll kind of show you what that is real fast.
Sure.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Sorry, I'm still playing with this stuff. So this is on USD, okay, on the 1 hour chart. So we're kind of hitting this support. If we break it, we're gonna buy. Okay. So if we break that support, then we're good. But if we don't break it, so if we can't break this high, think of this as a zone, then we're coming back down. So that's what you're kind of looking to see. This is 4 hour resistance that we're rejecting off of, and it's kind of rejected off of a few times. So it broke it. Whoopsie. It broke it, retested, came back down to form another zone, retested, and now it's dropping. So that's exactly what we're looking to see.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, when I get home, I'll hop on my laptop just to check, because on my phone I usually trade with I'm learning the system right now that we have with SuperEZ Forex, but sometimes I'll go back and recheck with the TDI just to see, if basically the volume that's in the trade, and if we see the momentum with the sentiment, where it's going. But I see what you're saying. I mean, it can come back to a retest. Just depends on what's happening right there. So it could do anything, but that is a good zone. You're absolutely right. So, all right, no problem.
So that's the most I can give you. I'm sorry I can't give you anything else. Again, I don't trade super that way. So my understanding is they're pretty accurate, but you got to know how to trade them. Those are meant to be scalps. And I believe Pat is going to have a meeting with him if he has not already, in terms of better risk to reward. So from my understanding, his signals have been really accurate, but the risk to reward needs to be super tightened. So that's as much as I know about that. Like I said on the 6-figure challenge, I kind of really prayed about it, about how do I get my signals through all that noise? How do I get what I originally set out to do, all that noise? And I get it. Pat wanted to offer a lot to the group to make them, to give them value, to handle the people who live in London, handle people who live all over the world, and handle the people who can't stand swinging. So he had good intentions, and his heart was in the right spot. So now that we kind of seen how it's went for the last couple of weeks, I know exactly what I'm going to do to make sure that, okay, on this six-figure challenge account, you guys are crystal clear on how to manage, how to enter, what lot sizes to use, and to go from there. But in your case, you're going to need to know your leverage. So that needs to be like priority one, like before you brush your teeth tomorrow morning or whatever time zone you're in, priority one, because what's your margin percentage of availability? So what's this number? This is a demo account. I've been in it since last Tuesday. I don't typically trade in it, but what's this number? Margin level percentage in your live account right now?
Right now, my margin level is 24.40.
Is that a thing? Is that this? Is that
I'm just looking on my phone.
margin level?
You know what? Margin level, I'm sorry, 972.53. Excuse me. Margin level percentage.
And how many trades are you in right now?
I got 2 entries in that AUD USD.
So you probably have reasonably high leverage then, because if you only have a $200 account. But you need to know that. So that number, so you guys need to know that number, you should never let it go below 500. I mean, that's the very, very lowest. And if you're brand new, you don't know what and that's only for high risk. For normal risk, you shouldn't let it go below 1,000.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea. I mean, that's kind of pushing it, but that's real trading. So just so you know, okay?
Yeah, just kind of learning the system. I'm not forming any opinions on anything, just trying to follow the rules. And, if there's a drawdown, there's a drawdown. I just kind of wait. And I saw with the stop loss being so large that, maybe because later on it dawned on me that they were having that news on, with the president and stuff like that. So I just figured, okay, I'll ask, go from there. But thank you very much for your list on the challenge. It's worked pretty good yesterday. I hit my goal yesterday, so I was
with my Euro NZD.
Huh?
With my Euro NZD.
Let me see. Last night when I got home, I just hopped on the charts and just found. Yep, I got the Euro NZD, and I also hopped in the Euro AUD and the Euro JPY.
Awesome. There you go.
And just kind of.
This isn't like a per day goal. So I used to do per day goals, and I promise you it messes you up for most people. Not at first. At first it's exciting. But long-term daily goals just mess you up. So your best bet is just that's your goal per trade. Because some days, hopefully you're on a vacation. Some days there will be no setups. The problem with having a daily goal is when there are no setups, you're going to force one. Or on the day where you took a loss, you're going to revenge trade trying to find it.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Just go to trading days rather than how many days in a week. Just how many trading days you're actually trading then.
Well, no, just like per trade. So, for example, you hit your goal on Euro NZD, so you're going to take a next trade. That's your next trade. Sometimes you'll have 2 in one day. Sometimes you'll have none in one day. And that's totally okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Jenny. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
You are welcome. I appreciate you. Okay, so last question I'm going to answer right here is from Chris. He says, can you explain what the other digits mean on the MT4? Never knew about what margin level is. So, again, I'm not an expert. I just got really good at the little things. That's what I did. So this is a demo account, nothing major. I haven't really been in this account since my last call with you guys, but I'm going to leave that open. So as you guys can see, this is the balance in that account. The equity, so that means how much of the actual money is left after what is pending. So this is the actual balance of what is left after the pending is taken out. You'll also notice that this number minus this number doesn't always equal this number. The difference is going to be your fees. Some brokers have commissions and swaps and taxes and other things. This particular broker does not. They just have one high spread you pay up front and then nothing else. So just so you know, if you're wondering why this minus this does not equal this. Or sometimes when this is blue, this plus this does not equal this. It's percentage based. It's based off of leveraged money, but that's kind of a roundabout thing of what you're looking for. This is your actual balance. This is what's in your account after all the pending charges, but that's marginalized and percentaged out, especially when you get into big dollars. So you see those people who can turn a $10 account into a $500 account, all pending charges or pending orders. That's not going to say that this is $510 because they're not going to give you that much in equity because that trade isn't closed yet. So I'm going to say that one more time just for those of you who missed it. For the people who can turn a $10 account into $500 of profit, that means this says plus 500, but these are all pending. You'll notice that your equity does not equal 510 typically because that money is still margined and percentaged out. So they're not going to give you more equity than you deserve, but they will take more equity than you've used because this is a broker's industry. So your margin is how do I say that? I'm pretty sure the most accurate way to say this, and I very well could be wrong, that this is how much of your actual dollar for dollar you used. So this account is 2,000 to 1 leverage. So of the actual money I've used, this is how much of it I've used. This lot size is used literally $1.23 of my actual balance. But keep in mind that's 2,000 to 1 leveraged. So free margin, similar concept to equity. This is minus actually, you know what? I don't really know how to say free margin. I don't know at all. Because the equity is what this is minus this or plus this. The free margin is, but it's something like that. So the most important thing, now that I've kind of fluffed through all that, is this. You'll notice this says 142, so that's 142,043, right? Available margin is used for so the free margin is used for the next trade. But that's similar to equity though. So what's the difference in the dollar amount? Oh, okay, so this is minus the free margin. So minus the actual amount. So this is, you have this much by 2,000 to 1 leverage to use for the next trade. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Michelle. Look at that. So this is your balance. This is your equity. So plus or minus this. Keep in mind it won't be dollar for dollar because this is margined and percentaged based always against your favor and generally not for your favor, just so you know. So this is how much of the money you've used times 2,000 to 1 leverage. This is what's left after that. So you still have $1,748 leveraged times 2,000 to 1 to use on your next trade. That's how much leveraged you have left, how much leveraged money you have left. But this is the only one I really care about, so that's why I honestly didn't pay too much attention to that stuff, is this right here. You'll notice this is extremely high, and because we're on a demo account, we're going to go do some playing around because I'm sure this will help a lot of people. So somebody's saying odd USD is a cup and handle. On what time frame, Yarman? What time frame do you see the cup and handle? Just out of curiosity.
That'd be the hour time frame.
Okay, I could maybe see that. Let's see. Remember, the bigger the time frame, the stronger the pattern. So you're calling kind of this a handle. So we're getting ready to finish the cup or what?
We're actually finishing the handle. The cup is over with. The handle. That's why he called the buy on it. I think on the handle portion of it now. I just drew it out myself.
This is the cup, and now we're doing the handle.
Yes. So if you drew a line all the way across back from your support line here, your 4-hour support, and drew a straight, line for yes, then it's going back up into the handle portion of it.
Okay, well that's an inverse cup and handle from what somebody's saying. It's not my necessary thing, but just so you guys know. And since you guys are in this trade, here's what we're gonna do. So you guys can see how much free margin is available. Keep in mind this is 2,000 to 1. So we're gonna open a new trade. I'm gonna bring this on screen just so you guys can see what we're doing. Okay. I'm gonna save us some time. Say 0.5. So this is $5 per pip, okay? We're gonna buy it. My leverage just went down by a whole bunch. Anybody see that? Okay. Reagan, anywhere from 30 minutes is usually fine. So if I go again, if I trade again, buy. So my leverage went down again. So now my percentage that I have available is 4,900. To save some time, I'm going to go up to a standard. 1.0. Probably could have done 2. So now I have 2,000. Okay. 2,000% leverage. But I'm going to keep going. Trading, I'm probably going to blow this demo account. I'll fix it. So 2.0. So now I'm still above 1,000, just to show you what your guys' account can actually hold. Granted, this is a demo, so that's 3 standards, right? A total of 4 standards, you know, and a couple cents. So you know, 4 standards on a $1,700 account, and I still have plenty of margin, okay? But I'm going to keep pushing it. New order. This is a 2.0. I'm going to hit buy. So now I have 6 standards on a $1,700 account. I'm going to do it again. I want you to watch this number. So anything over 1,000 is safe trading. Anything, you know, over 500 is risky but doable, okay? So now we have 2, 4, 6, 7, and plus the 250s is 8. 8 standards on a $1,700 account. I'm going to keep going, okay? We have just over 500. This is considered risky trading, okay? This is very risky trading, to give you an idea. We're going to do it one more time. I'm going to keep it at 2, actually. I knew I should go to 3. Let's go to 3. We're at 400%, okay? Wow, that's dropping. That's fantastic. Darn it. Okay, so we've got 3. 1, 2, 3. How many 2s do we have? I'm going to make this bigger. There we go. So 250, so that's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8, 9, 10. We have 13 standards on a $1,700 account, and our margin percentage is still above 3. Before I purposely show you something bad, I'm going to show you the purpose of, actually I'm going to show you something bad first. Trading. Okay, I'm going to bring this down to 2.0. I'm going to buy it again. Wasn't enough. Trading. That's 15 standards on a $1,700 account. And we still technically have enough leverage. This is really pushing it though. One small move will blow an account. One small move. Again, we still have more. So 3, 3. 1, 2. Ugh. Losing count. You guys got to count with me. Somebody's got to count. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is 18 standards on an $1,800 account. So like I've talked about for high risk trading, you can technically handle a standard on a $100 account. Yes, your account can. Just so you know. But now that we have 18 standards, I'm going to do this one more time to show you the negative aspect of, darn it, it still wasn't enough. 21 standards on an $1,800 account. Try it again. New order. Not enough. 24 standards on an $1,800 account. 27 standards on an $1,800 account. Come on. What is that? 30 standards on an $1,800 account. And we're still not blowing it yet. This should do it though. Nope. 33 standards on an $1,800 account. And we're still technically above 100% margin. Okay? Once you get below 100% margin, what's going to happen is you're going to be blowing an account. So this account is 2001 leverage. Just to show you what's possible when you're right, when your accuracy is good. Technically, an $1,800 account can hold 33 standards, period. Just to show you what's possible. But since that wasn't enough to make us red, I'm going to do it one more time. For those of you who have never had the privilege of seeing this, Now you have. Oh, come on. You should have let me do it. You're so mean. Oh, come on. And we're still just marginally above. There we go. See that? Do you see what just happened? Did everybody see that go crazy? So we have 34 standards on an $1,800 account. I'm really wishing this would drop for me. So that's what that is, okay? When this starts to get too low, you're going to blow your account, which means your trade doesn't even have to be wrong. All you have to do is go into a little drawdown for it to blow. So this can technically empty right out. Another thing you can do to protect your leverage, only when you know you're right, 18, sell it. So that's hedging 50%. Notice how I just saved the leverage, save my free margin. 18 is too much, so we're gonna go to 12. Sell it again. So now I have some room available. You guys see that? So when your account's getting ready to be blown, that's your the free margin is negative. Well, not anymore though. Yep. You gotta be a Jedi to hedge. That's correct. I successfully hedged that GJ trade for almost it was more than a month, and then I totally lost it. So, but that's kind of the purpose of a couple things for you to know. But now I'm wondering if I can save this account now that I just probably not. But either way.
Jenny, this is Everett.
Hey Everett, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Wonderful. This looks like it's dropping for whoever wanted it to buy. It's not good.
Yeah, that's dope. That is dope. I'm glad you did that. That is sweet. I think I just went another level up as a trader just watching what you just did. And then the whole hedging thing, that was awesome.
Well,
Because I had a trade actually. I had accidentally put in a standard instead of putting in 0.01, I put in 1.0, and it instantly started doing damage in my account. And I'm like, and I'm like freaking out. I didn't know what to do, and ultimately it ended up blowing my account. And just knowing that I have the option, I could have just went against it the other way. Looks like at least try to salvage it.
Well, when you make mistakes like that, or like the lady in the group who was, how do you say, was dealing with the kiddo plays trades. I mean, we've all had that happen when we're like on the phone, we're talking to someone, we don't even know what's in our hand because we are being silly, and we play some trades. It's not an ideal situation, but knowing that you can hedge it, and if you do it accurately, like this isn't a great example, especially because I actually do want to get off. But for example, if this breaks a fractal, I can baby step in enough cells to save the account. Like I'm not going to save the whole balance. It's not going to happen. But I can save the account for the most part. Odds are I'm just going to close these out as soon as we get off the call. But you can save enough of it that you can baby step some profits in. And then as you get a little bit more free margin, baby step some more profits in. And at least do something. Hedging is massively risky though. So it's a real thing. I mean,
at least it just gives me more control instead of just grabbing my hair,
You see what the cell is doing though? The cell is moving now. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
You are welcome. So we have 30 in a cell. It's pushing 30 standards in a cell, 32. Gotcha. All right, any other questions? But just so you guys can kind of see what the margin is and how that works. I mean, all right. Any questions, comments, all that good stuff? Because I'm going to hop off. So. Whoopsie. Closed too many. Okay. Let's see what happens with it. But just so you guys kind of understand that this is the number you need to be careful for. Michelle was saying your free margin became negative like it did. Yeah, it is negative. But this doesn't, like, it doesn't help me calculate what I need nearly as much as this does. So I follow this for the most part, because you are now over leveraged. So this is bad news. This is bad news bears, okay? Some brokers will start closing trades when you hit 90%. Some brokers start closing trades when you hit 30%. Every broker is a little different, so I don't want to speak on anyone specifically, but just so you kind of know what we're looking at here. This is 18. If I click on price and I just maybe close 2 of these standards, I get a little bit of profit, and I should increase some of my leverage if it will let me do it. The broker might just be trying to close it all because it's just an algorithm. That's really all it is. And there's no connection, go figure. Way to go, silly butt. But that's what blowing an account looks like as soon as this decides to listen to me. It didn't close any, so I'm going to click it again. I'm going to close 2 standards of that. It may or may not let me. But then literally what I would do to scale out of this is now I'm heavier on the sell than I am the buy, which is what would put me into profit essentially. It is a tactic. It technically can work. It's not very smart, but it can work. So if this completes whatever the gentleman was saying about the cup and handle, it'll continue to buy. I'm seeing a head and shoulders kind of start to form on a 4-hour, which means it's going to dip down to a sell before it even tries to buy. But I don't know. I'm not definitely don't know everything. So, but just so you guys can kind of see something. No, cancel that. Just cancel. Thank you. All right. Questions, comments, or woes, anything at all? This is what trading 101 looks like. So if you haven't blown an account, that's what it's going to look like. You're going to put too many trades in at once. You're not going to have enough margin percent available. You definitely want to keep it above 500. If your trades are in profit, I mean, you're cool. If your profit is protected, you're cool. But if they're not, you definitely should not be that low at all, ever. Pretty sure we just dumped the account, so now the broker's locking me out. So, oh well, not a whole bunch we can do. It's just a demo though. So let me close some. I'm going to close another one. I'm going to close. On USD is dropping, if you guys did not know. So I would continue to close some on my way down, provided the broker doesn't freeze up and stop me from what I'm trying to do. It would make it to where I come out with a saved account. I wouldn't come out with much, but I wouldn't come out with 0. And sometimes that's all you got. So now I have 15 in for the sell and only 4.5 for the buy. But we officially made lower lows. So, yep. NZD news in 30 minutes, guys. Ricky says, yeah. Chris, if you're using 20%, there's so many variables, but here's the deal. If you're using 20% with 100 pip take profit, technically, yes, you can have 5 trades open if you're doing it right. The problem is some people are trying to do that in a 50-to-1 leverage account, which will not work and is not my fault because I told everybody you needed high leverage. If you have high leverage and you are taking the larger take profit, okay? So for instance, the 50 or 100 pip take profit, technically you can have quite a few trades open and running. And you can, when I say some people have done this in weeks, I mean in weeks. Independently, it can be done in weeks. With you guys as a group, if you guys can follow just the most basic instructions, yeah, it won't take long. So technically you can, if you follow the instructions, which means you're trading on that larger side where there's 50 to 100 pip take profits. If you have 2001 leverage, yes. And if you're not stacking, yes. You can, totally. If you have a $100 account at 20%, the maximum you can risk is 20 bucks per trade. And remember that compounding sheet is not based off of your risk. It's based off of your take profit. There is a huge difference. That is your take profit sheet, not your whatever you call it, stop loss. So Reagan odd and NZD typically get affected together quite often. So what was that? Just so you know. Now I'm going to close some of this. So notice how I'm saving my balance, and I'm still, well, I was increasing it until I closed that last one. But this is going up, so this isn't positive. We'll see how it kind of turns out. Now I only have $1.50 for the buy, or 1.5 for the buy, and we have technically 13 for this now. So not bad. All right, guys, well, that is it. I'm going to check on my little guy's homework here. Again, I just want this to kind of go over some basic stuff. I'm glad I got the chance to hang out with you a little bit tonight, and I wish you all the absolute best, and I look forward to kind of working with you next week. Please let everyone know we're going to be going over some basic trend lines, support, demand, hold on. Support, resistance, supply, and demand, like actual charting. Maybe I'll do the replay feature on TradingView, maybe not, because I really want to impact something like super important, because even if you got that one thing, you'll be a successful trader, just that one. But I hope you guys all have a fantastic night and sweet dreams and all that jazz.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome, DJ.
Thanks.